Today, I want to welcome everybody to the Sonic Promos webinar. I want to remind everybody, if you have questions that you'd like to ask, please utilize the chat section and we'll do our best to get to all of them. You'll have a chance to utilize your phone to check out some of our social media and to request an end of event package that we'll send your way. So today we're talking about maximizing decoration. I want to welcome you. I want to introduce you to your host. That would be me. Hello, everybody. It's July. I've got my, my 4th of July style cap on today for everybody, which we'll take a look at all of the bells and whistles that this has. We're excited to meet with everybody. We'll talk a little bit or a lot about decoration. It's more than just screen printing and embroidery. So we really want to give everybody some idea of the types of things that you can do with your logo, depending on the types of items that you're working on. So we're going to get started and we'll go from there. All right. So just a reminder, the Sonic Promos hat trick divided into three sections. We'd like to talk about what's trending. We'd like to talk about how to put it into practice. And then we like to provide some tips and tricks. So when we're talking about decoration, usually for us, aside from needing to know what the logo is, because that's the most important thing that we're looking for is, anytime clients are reaching out to us for a project, we always want to know what the art is. That really helps us to determine what we're up against and also helps us to determine based on the item that you're looking for, what decoration options are available for you to use for that particular item. So when we're talking about decoration terms, we want to know what the type of decoration it is that we're using. And we also want to talk about the imprint area. That's the allowable area for each decoration on each of those items. And every item that we put a logo on has some type of decoration area. And we'll explain where those come into play. All right, so we'll start off with the tried and true, the decoration method that most people are familiar with, they're comfortable with, and that's screen printing. It can be used on a variety of materials. It holds lots of color well. In essence, the reason that's called screen printing is that a stencil is burned into film. That film, or excuse me, a design is burned into film, and that film then burns into the screen. And once that screen has taken whatever the design is, whatever that color is, each screen is required for each color that you do. So if you're doing 2-color job, you need 2 screens. Each of those screens are used to determine which color is going down. So if you got a blue and a red logo, then you're going to have a blue screen and everything that needs to be blue is going through that screen. And you're going to have a red screen and everything that's needed to be printed in red is going to go through that screen. So after the ink is printed, it's cured to make it hard. And so that makes it hopefully stay on those shirts pretty well, shirts, whatever design you're going to be doing. In this instance, we're talking about screen printing. Another piece that sometimes people don't always understand or take into consideration is when you're trying to print certain colors on dark colors. And so for that, a lot of times we're going to add an underbase of white so that we make sure that the logo is really looking true. The best example I give is if you put one coat of white on a red shirt, it's probably going to look pink. You need to do that a couple of times. So again, we talk about prices based on number of colors printed, and it has to do with each of those screens. You can do 4-color process printing where you can be mixing all 4 colors. But really depending on what your logo is and what the items are, certainly screen printing is always a good go-to. But if you've got really tight colors or you've got gradients, sometimes there's other decoration methods out there that might work for you. When we talk about screen printing, we also have 3 main types of ink that we work with. Plastisol, which is heavier and vibrant, it's the one that most people are used to. And then, we like to work with water-based inks when possible. They're thinner, they have a softer hand. You can usually tell the difference. If you're wearing a t-shirt today that has a design on it, you can run your hand over it. And if you can feel the ink coming off of it, chances are it's more of a Plastisol ink versus a water-based ink. And then another type of print that we really like is discharge printing, where you're actually pulling the color out of the shirt by using bleach. It gives a really, really cool effect. It's great for one color logos. So if you're looking to, just change up what you're normally doing with your regular shirt design, just change some of the actual ink or the style, and that might be all that you need. Okay, embroidery, common decoration method for soft goods, apparel, hats, bags. We're using colored thread to create the design. The design is stored on a tape. You might often hear us call it a DST file, which is a digital stitch file. And that we put into a machine. That machine then tells our embroidery machine how many, what stitches are supposed to be put down, which color is supposed to be put down at what time. Usually with embroidery, you can do up to 9 colors, depending on how many spools are on the embroidery machine. But on average now, 9 colors within one logo. So different than screen printing. You're not charged per color. Instead, you're actually charged per stitch count. And a lot of our decorators now have determined that there's kind of a baseline for the number of stitches that a logo is going to encompass. So you might see us say, this shirt, this jacket includes up to 7,500 stitches or up to 10,000 stitches. That's really more than enough to get onto most of the items. Most of the people that are here, your logos can be accommodated by that much. But if you need to add more stitches, then we can do that. You're adding cost to it. But in the end, it certainly has a nice high perceived value. A lot of people like it. It's important to take into consideration what the items are that you might be putting it in. If you're thinking puffy jacket, that might not be the item to put embroidery on. If you're looking for dry fit polos, that might not always be the items that you want to be poking holes in, depending on how thick it is, if the logo might pull. And that's something that we can take into consideration based on looking at the logo. So embroidery, always popular. We can always sew out a sample for you, either on a piece of fabric or on a shirt before you go all in on some of these projects. That's always a good way to be able to get a sense as to how embroidery might look for your logo. All right, moving on. We're moving into a world now where full color decoration is more common, is the norm, as opposed to the exception to the rule. If you've got a logo with lots of colors, or a photo that you want to put onto a shirt or on koozies or any other type of items out there, then Sublimation provides the ability to do that. You're directly embedding the artwork into the surface of the product. So this, again, same idea. You might see these t-shirts that have really vibrant designs. They're usually being done with some sort of sublimation. And now we're moving into hard goods being able to have sublimated decoration on them, where you can wrap the entire mug, for example, here with a full color decoration. So if you design something, at very high res, but it wasn't designed in like a Photoshop, it's like a flat image, then sublimation might be the way to go. Whereas some of the other design techniques like screen printing, again, you need to pull the colors out in order to know what they are, in order to know where they lay. Here, you're just printing a flat design onto whatever the item is supposed to be. So, a lot of those, one-off Hawaiian shirts, like even this one that you see, but if you happen to see one, at your favorite beach location, those are usually being done with sublimation. They're not branding tons and tons of them. That's one of the great things about sublimation as well, is that you can get away with lower quantities and still do a full color decoration. So if you've got a unique design, let us take a look at it and we can tell you whether or not this is the right way to go. All right, so one of the big buzz decorations that's been around and talked about in the last few years has been direct to film. So not unlike when you used to go to I keep saying the beach, and you would pick a design off of the wall and you put it onto a shirt with like a heat transfer. Here, you're actually directly printing the design onto the film, and then it's actually pressed onto and into the product. It becomes part of the product. And so it's got a bit more of a plastic, I wouldn't say plastic, but it has a feel. So it's certainly something that you would want to get a sample of, depending on what the items are. But if you're looking to do, some sort of one-off for something special, and you've designed this, incredible recognition design, you had an art piece commissioned or whatever, then a direct to film might be a way to accomplish that particular type of product. But again, you can see the example artwork there for what something like that would come into. And it just goes to show that now there's really no decoration or no design out there that there isn't some way to be able to print on it. Okay, moving on. Laser. Okay, so the great thing about laser is, you've probably heard of laser engraving. You're probably used to it being done on drinkware and pens, like you can see here. Certainly, you would laser engrave on awards. You would laser engrave on wood items. But one thing you may not know is that you can actually laser engrave or laser etch into apparel. You can actually cut the logo into the shirt. It's in the shirt. And in doing so, have a permanent logo that really gives a high-end look and feel, and a really nice actual feel where you can run your hand over like a fleece that has that type of decoration. So you can see an example there with the Jim Beam. A lot of times, you're in a hurry. And so that's the reason why sometimes these logos and decoration options don't come into play, because we don't have time to really see whether or not it might work. If you give yourself, a month, 2 months to say, look, we really want to do something unique. We want to try some sort of different differentiation. We want to do apparel, but we want to do something different with the decoration. That's where, mocking up a laser or some of the other decoration methods that are out there can come into play, so that you can at least see. And maybe you need to get some buy-in, which is often what happens when you go outside of the norm. Putting a sample in front of the decision makers' hands can really help here. So think about laser engraving outside of just the hard goods, and let us show you how it might be able to work for you on some of your apparel. Okay, so you may not know, but before I started Sonic, I was selling fraternity and sorority merchandise. I was the guy who was in the student union that would say, okay, pick out your letters, and if you want them to say Pittsburgh Steelers, design on them, you can have your Alpha 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 on here, and we'll cut and sew them for you. That's applique. If you're a child of the, of college, you went to and bought one of these, varsity shirts, that is, applique. And there's also reverse applique, where we can cut the shirt and then you put the fabric behind it to sort of give it that look here. You can see two examples here. But applique is really popular. We can do it both with logo and with letters, and we can match fabric and we can match thread. And it really gives a unique opportunity to sometimes give people a nostalgic feel, especially if you're using it for corporate. Okay, and then DBoss and emboss. Now, if you came here specifically to find out what the difference between DBoss and emboss is, this is the day. Okay, and if I see the list of all the people and we talk about it and you don't know, I will be disappointed. So DBoss and emboss are used to create custom stamps, and you're ultimately stamping the material either in, or you're raising the material either out. So, most common items that you're thinking about would be like the wristbands, for all the different organizations. You can also press a logo into a journal. Those are DBoss. If you're raising your design up and out of the material, that is an emboss. Okay. And so, you might see that for some more emblematic jewelry type items than anything else. And if it's something that your company is looking to do some sort of recognition piece, that might be where an emboss comes into play. But more often than not, the items that most of our clients are asking for are requiring a DBoss. And the great thing about it is it's a pretty common decoration method now that comes standard with any of those items that you would be ordering. Okay. Die struck and enamel. This is used for lapel pins. And also we do a lot of challenge coins. So if you are working with challenge coins and you're working with lapel pins, we're often die striking them where we will design a mold. We'll pour the metal in there. And then depending on the type of finish that you're looking for, you might just do a natural finish or you might put soft enamel paint in there. You've also heard of cloisonne. Those are hand filled with paint. And what's the difference? Well, some of the difference has to do with how high end do you want the material to be. Sometimes the difference comes into what is the decoration that's trying to be put into it. The easiest thing to do is to talk to one of our reps here, and they can take the logo and we can work with our art team to determine what the best method is and what the best design is. All right, we are running out of time pretty quickly here, I see. So quick intermission, and I'll show myself again. Real quickly, I've got the cool hat here I want to show. So it's got a raised decoration on the front. It's got a print decoration on the side, if I can find my camera. It's got decoration on the back here where it's embroidered. It's got a fabric flag patch. And on the inside, it's got printed ribbon. It's got a printed bill. It's pretty intense. So if you're looking to do a little bit different with a hat, talk to our team. We can show you how you can maximize what that looks like. All right, let's move on. I do see a question about screen print and sublimation. The biggest difference is you can usually do minimal quantities all for one price for your setup. If you're screen printing and you need every color that you need, you're going to need a setup, you're going to need a run charge for each of those. And so as soon as you get to a place where you might be at 2 or 3 colors, it might make more sense to look at a full color decoration. Sublimation is one of those decoration methods. It really depends on the item that you're going to be doing. It might just be that we print a full color transfer instead if you want a t-shirt. And I'm happy to talk more about it offline if you have any questions. All right, so real quickly, we talk a lot about logo files, why they are important. We are always asking for vector files. We want PDFs, we want AIs, we want EPS files. We know you're doing your work in Canva. Canva is not usually the best place for us. We usually need to recreate some of that artwork, and it can be a challenge. But if you can export it as an EPS or an AI or a PDF file, we'll do our best to work with it. Roster files, JPEGs, PNGs, GIF, whatever you want to call them. They are, you can see the dots. And the challenge with us is that whether you enlarge them or whether you shrink them, the resolution changes and makes it difficult for us to print with. With vector images, our art team can manipulate the artwork, they can change the sizes, they can separate the colors out, and they can do all the things that's necessary to make it what we would call camera ready for print. So if you send us a JPEG, it gives us an idea of what your art should look like, but it doesn't get us to the place where we need in order to be able to print it. We've got a great art team here that can do it for you, but if you want to try to save some money, if you can root around for those files, it's always going to make it easier. All right, real quickly, I keep saying real quickly, I know we're running out of time because I like to hold true to the 20 minutes, but if you're enjoying yourself and you don't have anything to do for the next few minutes, stay with me. I got 3 logos here. One is a one color imprint, one is a multiple spot color imprint, and one is a full color imprint. So you see the Airbnb, it's just that sort of reddish pink logo. You've got the NBC logo. It's got yellow, orange, purple, blue, another blue, green, black, plus white. You've got 8 colors in there. So you could print, it is technically spot colors. They're separated. They could be easy to print, but you can also just as easily print them all together as like a full color imprint. And then in the case of the BMW, you would see that the BMW has a bit of a gradient towards the left-hand side, and it's got a lot of different shades of color. That's immediately a full color logo. You could change it to spot color and make all the colors solid, but it will change the entire view of what the logo looks like. So when we talk about imprint areas and why they matter here, you can see an example of an 8x8 logo on a tote bag. And you can see how we've taken this one logo and we've maximized it all the way full to that imprint area. But if you take those same 3 logos, they all have different variables attached to them. Now, some clients don't want their logo maxed all the way, some do. In the case of the Airbnb logo, this is the best example that I always like to explain to people, is that you've already hit your width before you've hit your height. And unless you're going to take the icon from the Airbnb and move it up to the top above the Airbnb, you're not going to maximize the space anymore. And that imprint area box is not going to be around there. It's just going to look maybe like it's floating. So there are other things you could do. I mean, you could step and repeat that logo over and over and over again to max the space if you want. But these are some of the things that we come up against when dealing with different types of logos. So just wanted to show those ones. Same thing with pens here. The Airbnb maxes out the imprint area on the pen really, really well. But with the NBC and the BMW logos, even though you've got all of that extra space there, there's not much you could do. However, you could conceivably take the NBC logo, right, and move the peacock over to the left and the NBC over to the right, and then you're able to maximize the space. The BMW, a bit more of a challenge. So if you see this is the pen that you want, but you haven't given your logo any thought to it, this is a challenge that we run into and need to try to explain what are some alternatives that you could look into. And we can find them for you. All right, we are coming up to the end here. Real quickly, want to tell everybody we will be giving anybody who's interested a decoration pack. It's going to include a bunch of stuff as well as, let me show you, this is really cool. I like it. So this is one of my favorite items. It's a polo shirt here, and it's got this embroidery logo on it, but it has the same logo like all over the shirt in a bunch of different ways. It's got apparel transfer, it's got deboss, it's got press in there. And so we're going to put one of those in your hands along with a full logo package with your logo in a variety of different ways, so you can see how your logo could look in some of these different decorations. So at the end, make sure you sign up and we will be sure to send you one of those decoration survival kits, if you will. Okay, real quickly, we want to talk about maximizing your decoration. If you don't have a lot of time, you're usually going to go with whatever the stock decoration area is. And so if you're talking about drinkware, for example, this particular item has either a 3-inch wide by 5-inch high imprint per side. So if you were co-branding something, you want to put your logo on one side and someone else's logo on the other side, you can do that. Or you want to put the same logo on one side, you want to put the same logo on the other side, you can do that. But it also has a wrap imprint. And wrap decoration has changed so much that you can do what we call, I guess, mind the gap, fill the gap. And you can actually take that logo and you can wrap it all the way around the item, and sometimes even fit in some additional print along the way to have it a complete seamless rotation of decoration. This particular logo that you see here is the same cost. They're both one color designs. All you're doing is choosing a wrap imprint versus a one-sided imprint. If you've got a really, really long logo, instead of trying to fit it into just the one side space, then ask for the wrap. Let it wrap all the way around the bottle. I know sometimes people want to see the entire logo head on, but if somebody's got it on their desk and they just keep turning it over and over again, I think the point is being made. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're looking at the item. So take advantage of all of these opportunities that we have when we showcase what some of the additional imprint areas are that are available for you, and maximize the space. We really are into what we call mixed media. It's on one of the shirt samples that I'm sending your way, but you can see here that this journal has been debossed, and then it's actually got an epoxy dome on it. It's like a giant lapel pin type decoration that's then placed over top of it to give it just a complete custom high-end retail look. This is an example in the middle of laser on a fleece and then embroidery over top of it. And then awards are great for mixed media. You can do laser etching. You can do subsurface where it's actually being engraved on the inside. It's not being engraved. A laser is pointing to the inside of the cube and it tells the cube where to break. And from there, you get the design. So that fire person is done with lasers that we're shooting into it to break the glass on the inside. And then on the back side of it has this full color fire look. And then what we do to really give it an impact is we lay it on top of a light box. And that light that you're seeing there is the effect of what the light looks like when it's shining through all of that color. And that's an example of mixed media. You've seen a lot of items that can look like something else. Is it cake? Is it a water bottle? Is it a hamburger? Is it headphones? Is that chocolate or is it a power bank? If you've got some sort of theme that you want to incorporate, this is, again, not something that's going to happen in 2 days, but certainly something that we can work on with your team to show you what you can do to make something really unique and wow, whatever audience you're trying to connect with. All right, I did it. The end. I should have known when I saw 25 slides I wasn't going to be able to do it, but I wanted to. I tried. If you scan this right now, you can register for the decoration pack that we were talking about, and I hope you will. I'm also going to include this exclusive. Look, this is exclusive. It's an exclusive lanyard. But what we've done is we've taken all of the standard colors that are available through our Sublimation lanyard printer, and we have put what the PMS colors are that are close to them. So it gives you a good idea of, by using full color sublimation, how we can get to whatever PMS color you want. So we're going to mix colors to get your colors, but if you tell us what they are, we can do pretty well with that. So again, you can scan the QR code or you can click the link below there. Are there any questions? I know there was one. It came before the event and it was a question about minimums. It's not really a question about decoration, but that's okay. The question was, how do we support companies that don't need 500 or something? And the answer is simple. We can offer one of something. Is it one of anything you can think of? Can you get a one piece of a branded Yeti tumbler? It would really be expensive and it would not be the direction that we would point you in. But there are other drinkware items and there's speakers and there's bags and all chargers and all sorts of items out there now that you don't need to order more than one unit. Does it make more sense to order 5 or 6? Because as soon as one person sees it, 5 other people will? Absolutely. But if you're looking for ways to implement, small programs, there are plenty of products out there that can help to support, what we like to call anchor programs. You got to start somewhere. You don't always need to buy hundreds of something. Talk to your account manager or reach out to me, and I can help you to understand a little bit more about how that would look. I should have put my face on there, so you knew I was being honest. So if you need anything else, let me know. I want to thank you again for hanging in for an overtime version of the Sonic Promos Hat Trick. I will do my best to get back to regular time. If there's anything you need, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.